Happy Monday, everybody. So today is Monday, January 18th, and I had to actually look down because I can never remember what day it is anymore. And it is Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the United States, which is a federal holiday. It doesn't take place on his actual birthday, but I believe it's the third Monday in January every year. And so I thought we would do some talks. I started thinking about the things that Martin Luther King Jr. stood for, and it was activism and nonviolent activism and looking for unity and equal treatment for everyone. And the first book that I thought about is a graphic novel. So I wanted to talk to you a little today about graphic novels. It's not something we've discussed in any of the book talks so far. And much like when I did a talk about audiobooks a while ago, I would argue that graphic novels have a bit of a stigma with adults. A lot of people don't view them as actual literature. And I would hard disagree with that. It depends on the comic book, and that's what they are essentially, is they are novels told in a graphic format. So they have drawings like comic books and less actual text usually. But I think some people are very visual learners, and I think it's huge for those people. I also think the artwork can really enhance and emphasize the messages that are being given in the book. And some people express themselves in this way, and I don't think they should be discounted or viewed as subpar or inferior to a full-length text novel. They are often put in young adult and children's categories. There are a growing number that are being included in adult collections, but I also love YA books. So young adult books that doesn't dissuade me from reading them, and I would hope it doesn't for you either. So there's some fantastic things that are written and classified as young adult books. Graphic novels, though, get this. I have a lot of parents that will come in and say, oh, all my kid wants to read are graphic novels. If they want to read, we're winning. So you want people to read what they enjoy reading and what's fun. Reading shouldn't be a chore. It should be something that we enjoy, hopefully, especially as adults. Otherwise, you don't do it, right? So I think graphic novels are just like an excellent way to reach people who maybe aren't into traditional text novels. And even if you are into text novels, you should also check out this whole new art form that has really not gotten the recognition it deserves, I think, in a lot of ways. So today, I'm going to talk to you about 4 different graphic novels that are covering very serious subjects and things that like I said, I feel are related to Martin Luther King Day. So we're going to talk about immigration and segregation and discrimination. So kind of heavy topics, but I think these books bring a lot to the subject. There's a lot of power in the art in them. One of them has even won and is the only graphic novel to ever win a Pulitzer Prize. So let's get started, and we'll talk about some fantastic graphic novels on some maybe more difficult subjects that I think would benefit any of us to read and help increase our empathy and our understanding of one another. So the first book that I wanted to talk about, I actually have here, we have in our collection. It's called March, and it is by John Lewis, who was our congressperson that we lost last year, who was a civil rights activist. And he wrote this as a trilogy, actually, and it is a black and white graphic novel. Pardon my look down when I check my notes about things. I just don't want to forget anything. So John Lewis died in July 2020. We lost him. But these books were published a few years ago, and they got a lot of acclaim. They are an autobiographical black and white graphic novel. And it's a whole trilogy, and it's all about the civil rights movement, a history of the civil rights movement. So I'll just show you inside of the book. You can get an idea what a graphic novel looks like. So there is still text, obviously, and then there's images that go along with it, and the artwork is a really part of the powerful expression of a graphic novel. So there are 3 different books in this series, and if you, as an adult, are interested in it, don't let the YA label deter you. It's a fantastic read. It's powerful. The images only add to it, and I think it's also a great way to kind of introduce some of these subjects to maybe people who aren't big readers traditionally, or are young readers and maybe aren't ready to tackle a full-on giant nonfiction tome. This might pique their interest and get them more into the subject matter and get them reading other things about it. So it did win the Robert F. Kennedy Book Award and a Coretta Scott King Honor Book, which is how I thought of it when I thought of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So the first book is March, and it is a trilogy, so if you like it, there's 3 of them. So I hope that you will check that one out and pick it up. It's in the catalog, and we have it here at the library. Okay, the next book I wanted to discuss is called I Was Their American Dream, and it's a graphic memoir by MLK Gharib. This is the cover of it. And so this book came out in 2019, so not that long ago. And it's a very much, MLK is a first generation Filipino and Egyptian American, so she is mixed race. And this book is about her experience growing up in America and her as a first generation immigrant, meaning her parents weren't from here, but she was born here. And so that is a very particular experience for people that I can't speak to because that is not my experience. So I think it's always really, it helps to build empathy and understanding when we read someone else's story about the good and bad and ugly of what they've experienced in these situations. So this is a portrait of growing up in America and of family. And the review I read said, after I did read this book, but the review I read of it said that it pulls off the feat of being both intimately specific and deeply universal at the same time, which I think is a huge applause for any book if they can manage that. It is the immigrant experience. It is sort of the idea of the American dream and what that means to both immigrants and their children who are born here. I think there's a lot of expectation put on first generation children whose parents have sacrificed a great deal to get them to somewhere for better opportunities. So there's that part of it. There's also the stuff that's not so great about being othered sort of in our country or anywhere. So I just thought it was a really fantastic book. It's a quick read. That's the great thing about graphic novels. You'll blow right through them. And you can really pique your interest in some new topics. So this one has color. So I'll just show you an inside page of this one. They don't all, but it was a fantastic book and I really enjoyed it. So I Was Their American Dream by MLK Gharib. Okay, the next one I don't have here, and it's unfortunate because I have it in my home library and it is available in our library system, but it's actually, there's two parts to this one. You can buy it as a compendium or in two pieces. The title is Maus, M-A-U-S, by Art Spiegelman. This is the one that won the Pulitzer Prize. And it is the only graphic novel to have done so, ever. It depicts Spiegelman, the author, interviewing his father about his experiences as a Polish Jewish person and Holocaust survivor. Both of his parents were in concentration camps. And so it came out in 1992. This is not a new book, but it covers from the pre-World War II up through his parents' liberation from the Nazi concentration camps. It is powerful. It is a little more a little more artistic interpretation. So in it, the Jewish people are mice, the Nazis are cats. And I believe the Polish people are depicted as pigs in it. So they're just different animals for each type of person or category of person that's being discussed in the story, which adds an artistic element to it. This was required reading for me at one of my college classes. And I at first kind of thought, oh, a graphic novel, I don't really want to, but it's so powerful. It really is. It tells a story that needs to be told. And retold as we are losing the people who experienced it firsthand. I think it's really important that we have this documentation and these written accounts of people's firsthand experiences of what this was like, lest we forget, because, history repeats itself if we don't pay attention. So I just thought it was timely and along the same sorts of subjects as Martin Luther King and these other books that we're discussing. So Maus by Art Spiegelman. And I'm going to put the covers of all of these up at the end so you will be able to see the spellings and the authors' names and look them up in the system. Okay, and then the last book I wanted to talk about is by a pretty famous person who many of you may know as Sulu on Star Trek. George Takei wrote a graphic novel, and it's called They Called Us Enemy. That's the cover of it. And it is about his personal experience with internment camps in America during World War II. So it is about his story, and it's about activism and reconciliation and kind of trying to make peace and move past some of these things, but also what that lesson hopefully taught us about that really ugly period in American history and what that has to offer us today with the current issues that we're facing. So again, a firsthand account, which is really powerful, I think, in a way that reading a history book isn't always, because there isn't that. As human beings, we're more tied to something when it is a personal story that you're hearing. It's hard to disassociate, I guess, is what I would say about it. So this book is black and white graphic novel again. So just to show you some pages. It is it's well written. It won the American Book Award, so it has received honors, and it came out in 2019 also. So as you can see, the number of these books and their acceptance into kind of the general canon is building. Whereas Mouse was published in 92, and that was kind of the only thing like that at the time. More and more we are seeing these stories come out in graphic format. And I think that it's becoming a more accepted form of expression and literature. I hope so, because I think to dismiss these things would be a mistake. There is a lot of power in them. And I really hope that you will put aside maybe some thoughts you had about graphic novels and check some out, because there are a large number of them in our library system, including these that I've discussed, but others as well. So hopefully you will find a new format to love. And if you need recommendations or you're looking for anything in particular, let me know. A lot of people are writing memoirs this way now. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about a civil rights thing or an activism thing. Some people just tell their personal stories this way as well. So definitely let me know if you're looking for a good graphic novel read, if these don't fit the bill. And I will be back next week with more books for you, hopefully. I don't know what I'm going to discuss yet, but we'll see. So thank you so much for being here. Make an appointment to come in and see us, do curbside service, call us with any questions. We're printing tax forms. If they're available, we can print them for you and you can pick them right up at curbside. So we hope you're all doing well and staying safe, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.